Hi, I'm Bonnie Marquette, and welcome to Tabletop Macro and Close-Up Photography for Beginners. One of my favorite sayings is, every photograph is a good photograph. And you're probably thinking, well, that's BS because I've seen some really crappy photographs out there. And you're right, and I've seen them and I've taken them, and I still take them from time to time. But the reason that I say every photograph is a good photograph is because someone took the time to actually take it. So the goal of this course is to teach you to start seeing like a photographer and take those good photographs and turn them into better photographs, which then hopefully will lead into awesome photographs. And teach you how to get the type of looks and the type of things that you like, even though you might not really know why you like the way a picture looks, certain things in a picture, to try and figure out why you like it and how to do it. Not just step by step, put your ISO on and your aperture and blah, 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 and all these terms that as a beginner, you probably have no clue what the heck they mean. And if that's the case, then this course is for you. I wanted to spell things out, make it simple, make it easy to understand, just get the basics and the principles of what makes a photograph pleasing and interesting. You'll hear me say interesting 1,000 times. Because really in the end, that's really what you're after, is you don't want a photograph that looks like everybody and Joe Blow, your next door neighbor's photograph. You want it to look interesting and unique, just like you are. So the other goal is I want you to feel like during this course that you have been invited into my house. This is my big fancy studio. I say that facetiously because this is my living room. And I'll be doing all of the photography for this course either in my living room. I'm going to show you some of the places I shoot. And later in the course, we'll also be doing a little bit of photography in my kitchen. So as long as you have a living room and a table, and I'll show you something that's kind of cool that you can do, and potentially a kitchen. If not, as long as you have a table and you have a camera, we're going to go over here in just a minute, you can shoot. The stuff that it takes does not require thousands of dollars of equipment. You're actually going to be very surprised what it does take, how little it takes. And it's a lot of fun, and that's the whole point. If it's not fun, what's the point in doing it? The cool thing about art, in any shape, whether it's painting or photography or writing a book or things like that, is all open to interpretation. There are a few rules that I'm going to teach you that, of course, we can break along the way. But there are a few rules just to try to help you get to start to, again, to see like a photographer. That's my goal. I'll tell you a quick story, a little bit about me, and then I'm going to show you a little bit of the gear and where we're going to shoot, and then we'll be ready for the first lesson. So, a little bit about me. I live in Louisiana. I'm from Louisiana. I love it here, as you can tell, even though the windows are very bright. We live in the middle of the woods, just north of Baton Rouge. And since I do a lot of nature and wildlife photography, it's wonderful for me. I can step outside and I have a whole studio. I also, my entire life, I've loved animals. I was a veterinary technician for a very long time, and I have a lot of animals. And I tell you this because during this whole course, I can pretty much assure you you're going to hear dogs barking, you're going to hear birds chirping. I have a parrot, I have a cockatiel, I also have chickens, I have a peacock, 2 horses, a cat, blah, blah, blah. But particularly the dogs, I have 8 English Mastiffs in the house. So, that said, if you know what an English Mastiff is, they're very, very large dogs. So because of all of that, the house is always dirty. So I make no apologies. Again, it's like I'm inviting you into my house. Sorry for the dog hair and the dirt, but that is the way it is, and we live in the middle of the woods, so it's living with nature, which I like. I prefer that versus sterile, because I'm not like your average person. I'm the old saying, why be normal? Well, that's me. Back about 30 years ago, I was just starting a new career as a graphic artist. And I knew I enjoyed it. Home computers were just out, tells you how old I am. So I started playing around with this stuff, and I got one of my first assignments was to create a folding brochure, the trifold brochures that you see all over the place. Well, because I was starting out, I didn't know how to make the little columns fit in so that it would fold right. So I got the name of a local graphic artist and called him. He had been doing it for a long time, and I called him. I told him what my problem was. I said, I don't, how do I set my margins? And the man says, I can't believe you're calling yourself a graphic artist. You have no right, you have no clue what you're doing, and just completely belittled me. Of course, I was crushed, but I sat there for a minute and I said, wait a minute. So on the phone, I told him, I said, I just wanted you to know how incredibly honored I feel to be speaking to someone who was born with the knowledge that they now possess. Think about that. It took him a while to figure it out. After probably about 15-20 seconds, he said, touche. It's my favorite saying that came out of my head. But the reason that it's important is because what you have to understand, no matter how accomplished a photographer is, an author is, an architect is, a painter, anybody in any genre of anything, they weren't born with the knowledge that they now possess. They spent a lot of time, invested a lot of hard work, and learned their craft, whatever their craft is. That said, there's always going to be somebody who knows more than they do. So everybody has a starting point, and hopefully you'll take it as far as you want to go. You may not want to be the next New York fashion photographer. You may just want to take really cool pictures of your kids and your dog, or go outside and take pictures of flowers. And that's not only perfectly okay, that's fantastic. Because that's a goal that you're setting for yourself. And all of this should be about what you want to do. It's photography is a very wonderful, almost spiritual-like experience, if you will, if done for the right reasons. And the right reasons is to make you feel good. It's something that you own. You own that photograph. You were there at that moment, no matter what it was, no matter if it's food or it's a flower or whatever. That food and that flower will not be there tomorrow. So you have the opportunity to take a good shot of it today. And again, your first shot, any shot's going to be a good shot. So let's see if we can make them even better shots. So the next little section here is going to be on the $15, $20, $30, $50,000 worth of equipment that you have to have in order to start this. Again, I'm being facetious, and I'm going to show you what that is. So now we're going to talk about the kind of gear that you need, and you really don't need a whole lot. Of course, you need a camera, and when we talk about cameras, we'll start from the biggest and go to the smallest. This is the one that I'll be shooting with. This is a Canon 5D Mark II. Back about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, this was the biggest and baddest on the market. It's not anymore. I still love it. I use it all the time. It was very expensive. The lens that's on this is a Tamron macro. Now the Canons make macro lenses, and I'll explain the difference between a macro and a close-up. And they're extremely expensive, thousands of dollars. This was not, this was under $1,000. But this is still a lot of money to invest. Now, since I do this professionally, it was worth me investing. To start out, you don't need this, but you will see the results this can get if you decide to go that far with this. I will say, first off, disclaimer, this iPhone and a point and shoot, which is great, is not going to give you the exact same results as what this lens will. These lenses are specially made, that's why they're very expensive, to be able to do what they do. Now, just real quickly, the difference between macro and close-up, this is going to shoot macro, which means if I'm shooting this little flashlight, when I have zoomed in, this flashlight will be the exact same size as it is, 1:1, on my camera sensor. Don't worry about that, what that means right now. It just means that this is going to get a whole lot closer than a typical zoom lens or a point and shoot. That's all you really need to know. But, that said, can you get close-up, really nice close-up shots with a typical, this is a kit body, this is a Nikon, it's my old camera, it's a D90, with a kit lens, which means the lens came with the camera. Can you get close-up shots, good close-up shots with this? Absolutely, this is how I started. These little things, point and shoot. A lot of you are probably going to be using these. This little thing is fantastic. This is another Nikon. It's an AW100, and I bought it, I think I paid $110 for it or something. Excuse me, at Best Buy, because my husband and I went to the Bahamas a couple years ago, and I wanted something that would shoot underwater. This little thing is phenomenal. Again, it's not going to shoot as close up and as clear as this will, but it can shoot some really pretty cool shots, and I'm going to show you what this little thing has gotten. Now, of course, we all have these. Will this shoot as good as this? No. Can it shoot some really cool shots? Yeah, I'm going to show you one in the first lesson. So, depending on what you're starting with, any of these will work. Anything in between will work. Must-haves for this class. Real important, real expensive. Painter's tape, dollar store, hardware store, $1, $2, what have you. I got this at the dollar store for $1. We use this a lot. A drinking straw, plastic drinking straw. Where we're going to use this, you'll see when we shoot flowers. These, I can't say enough about. Clamps. Home Depot, I think you can catch them on sale. They're probably $1, $2 or something a piece. This is a photography clamp. It's the same thing. They do the same thing. They clamp stuff, hold stuff together. You can't have enough of these. You can get them cheap. I think you can get them at the dollar store too. But anyway, when you see these little things, and they have the little tiny mini ones too, but these two sizes here are the size that we use a lot. And why we use them, the last thing that you really need, or second to last thing, is foam core board. So you're like, okay, what is that? You know that art board that when you were in school that you would do mock-up posters and all that? I got this at the dollar store for $1. I have white, I have black. So you're wondering, okay, what are we going to do? What do we use those for? Let me give you an example. Now, there's a light over here that's shining on me because otherwise, because of the light from my windows here, you can see I have floor-to-ceiling windows, which are wonderful, but I almost have too much light in here a lot of times. Well, I have a lot of light in here, so this, if you can see the difference, will control my light. This is called a flag. That's one of your lessons in lighting, first lesson. I can control the amount of light hitting if I'm the object, not a very attractive object to demonstrate this on, but if I'm the object, I can control the amount of light hitting my face. That's very useful. If we need to add more light, and I'm the object, heaven forbid, now the light is bouncing off of here, and my face is reflecting this white board, which lightens up the side of my face. So if I was a bouquet of flowers, but this side was too dark, and you're trying to take a picture, and like, oh, but that side looks too dark. These things, bought at the dollar store, will lighten up the side of your flowers. These things come in handy. These little boards are notorious for falling. They fall all the time. They're going to fall on you all the time. Now, take the clamp on the board, down here. There you go, hands-free. Now the last must-have that you're going to need to do this is going to be a light source. I shoot with the majority natural light, probably 99.9%. But every now and then, well actually most of the time, you're going to actually need a little more light to add to. We're going to use reflectors to bounce our natural light or our added light. But your additional light source could be something as simple as a flashlight. Now, things that you don't have to have, but could be really, really helpful to you in the future. First thing, you don't have to have a tripod, but that's borderline, you almost do. I shoot both handheld and on a tripod. Now, the problem with shooting handheld, especially in macro and close-up, is that when you're starting to get that close into something, you're invariably going to get, at some point, actually I get it a lot, camera shake. So I'm getting close, and if I move just slightly, my picture's going to be blurry. Or I've missed where I was trying to focus, or what have you. And so I'll shoot 50 frames, handheld, and I may only keep 4 or 5 of them. Personally, I love the freedom of being able to run around the table and get different angles and all this other kind of stuff. That's really more my style, which means that I shoot a lot of pictures that aren't successful. But when you do nail it, it's really cool. These are called extension tubes. There's no glass, as you can see. They're just tubes with no glass. They're not lenses. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them from B&H. places like that. And what these things do is you put them on a regular lens, like a zoom lens, like I have on this little Nikon. You add it to it, and it moves the lens away from your sensor in your camera, and it magnifies things. I know that sounds completely backwards. You would think, oh, it's moving further away, it's going to get smaller. It actually does the opposite. I'm not going to go into the mathematics of it. And here's another disclaimer for any pros or accomplished photographers out there. This course is designed for someone who maybe has an entry-level DSLR or just a point and shoot that wants to learn basics. I'm not going to get into mathematics, I'm not going to get into square roots and all that kind of fun stuff because it's way over most people's head and in a lot of cases over my head still. So we're just going to start with the basics so we can improve the photography that they started with and get that better. So, disclaimer, please don't send me any hate email. Okay, so now that we're talking, we talked briefly about lighting and our cute little 50-cent flashlight. If you really want to get froggy, I got this off of Amazon. This is a newer, it's an LED light. What's cool about it, and a lot of photographers are using this, is that it's dimmable. So I can go all the way up, or I can go all the way down. And this is an additional light source that I use all the time, especially for my food photography. These little things are cool. They're really cheap now. They're like, I think I paid $20 or $30 for this one. It's not that expensive. This is just a little tabletop tripod. It's a Cowboy Studio, which is like really super cheap. Probably 10-15 bucks on Amazon. Super cheap. It's got a little level on it, all kind of fun stuff. So if you want to invest and get a little bit better lighting than just your flashlight, but to start, this is it. Okay, I'm going to do this portion handheld while I walk around with the camera, so I hope I don't make anyone dizzy, but I wanted to show you basically the places that I shoot. So you've seen my cool little cabinet that holds everything that I also use as a tabletop, with it being on casters. It's really cool. And then over here is the desk. I do a lot of shooting here. There is glass on top, so obviously there is a lot of reflection. Sometimes it's kind of cool, sometimes it's not, and I have to put something underneath it. But I do a lot of shooting here. Then, actually, anything will work as a tabletop. I actually did a shot of some peanuts that's on my website, and I did it right here on this little table, just using the light from this window. You don't need a lot of space, and that's one of the beauties of tabletop. You don't need a lot of space, you just need some light, whether you have to add it or use the existing light and then enhance it or shut it down, as I have to in my case, and you can make for some really cool images. So I hope you enjoyed the little tour of my big bad studio with all of the lights and camera and gear and all that, again being facetious. Bottom line, as you've now seen, though, is that you can shoot some really cool stuff, have a lot of fun, really broaden your horizons and try out different things. And if you mess up, it's digital. So what? You hit erase. If you've already signed up for the course, congratulations. I can't wait to start teaching you and start seeing your images. If you haven't signed up for the course yet, go to my website. There's more information about it. You go through the material. I'll walk you through each lesson, etc., etc., etc. And then I'll have you take 3 images and send them to me. I will then pull them up, go through on video, and look at your images, not just look at an image that was sent in, or I'll review your image, not just show you my images and tell you what worked and what didn't in my images. It'll be your images. And I hope that that will help you grow as a photographer. And if you have questions, feel free to ask them at any time. And yeah, happy shooting. And for those of you that have already signed up, lesson 1 is composition, the rules, which rules are a lot of fun to break. Composition is kind of important. So at least if you learn it and you figure out why things look good and why other things don't look good, or what you want to do, at least you'll have that knowledge to start working with and start getting great photographs. All right? See you then.